Hi guys, I'm Shmi, hello and welcome back to the channel where right now we have got to check out the latest car from Lamborghini that has just been presented by complete surprise. This is the V12 Vision GT. The Vision Gran Turismo cars, the cars for the Gran Turismo gaming franchise brought into real life, as well as a car that can be played with in the game, and Lamborghini are the latest car manufacturer to throw their hands into the ring. It is the product of Matteo Borchert and his team at Centro Stile, Lamborghini's design department at their HQ in Sant'Agata Bolognese in Italy. And this thing, we have got to go through the details, take a proper look at it, go through what it's all about, what powers it, the ideas behind it, how it works, and some things you won't necessarily have seen already about it. This then is the new Lamborghini V12 Vision GT. You actually join me right now in a hotel room here in the Middle East, but let's go over to Monaco, where, like I said, this car arrived with absolutely no way to know that it was coming in advance. The covers were pulled back during the Gran Turismo World Finals, the finals of the esports gaming series, where of course I think everybody was pretty much wowed by the car that was both there physically, but also available to play in the game, and it's going to be launching in Gran Turismo Sport next year. Now, there have been a few Vision GT cars over the years. To name some of them, the first that I ever saw myself about a decade ago was the Citroën GT from Gran Turismo 5. We had some pretty cool cars from Mercedes. Quite recently, the Bugatti Vision Gran Turismo, a car that I've spent quite a bit of time around, and also the McLaren Vision GT as well. That's not all of them, there have been more, but Lamborghini are the latest to arrive on the scene. Now, this has come completely as a surprise to me, but it looks awesome. Every bit the Lamborghini DNA that you would expect, the design cues, the Y shapes, the aggression, the angular lines and edges, the hexagonal patterns, and we'll go through all of these. It's going to be powered by the Sian's engine, the 6.5 litre naturally aspirated V12, mated to an electrical system, a semiconductor in fact, to produce 815 horsepower, and the idea is that this would only be 819 kilos. So basically, we are talking effectively 1-to-1 power to weight. Now that is going to be quite a fun thing to drive. It's a monoposto, as they call it, a single driving position, one occupant with a digital projection screen in front to have all of the information that you would require, giving you that feedback in the game, but also giving Lamborghini and their designers the opportunity to think towards the future, to show their DNA, to show their styles, but also to think a little bit more about what they can do next. To get a feel then for what that would be like sitting inside, the cockpit wrapped around you, the steering wheel with the cut-off top so that you've got a great view of the head-up display. We've got some game shots, and I can tell you that is Portier Corner on the Monaco Formula 1 circuit. The steering wheel also though with the screen-style projection in the centre of it, the driver very much helmeted up for the purpose to go racing, and you can see how it has that singular seating position. It's kind of like, it's a design almost like an open wheeler, but in this case the wheels are covered with a Lamborghini style design. So very much Formula 1 and motorsport. Continuing through though, you get a better look at some of that information. The Lamborghini style rev counter running horizontally across the top. Currently this vehicle parked or left in neutral at least at the moment. Some controls on the wheel for making adjustments, but basically a very futuristic looking design, a lot of craziness. So as we explore around the exterior of the car then, to go through all of this in a little bit more detail and take it all in, you can clearly tell it is a little bit at the crazy end. That gigantic rear spoiler, the way the bodywork has all of this negative space for aerodynamics, for cutaways, for the minimum weight, but also maximising the air efficiency that travels through it. You can see you've got that mid-rear mounted engine, Lamborghini's insane sounding 6.5 litre naturally aspirated V12. In this case though, the hybrid. Lamborghini Sian, their new few-off hypercar, was their first ever production hybrid. This though of course takes in that power plant, that powertrain and running mechanism. It's four-wheel drive then, I suppose, with also the 7-speed ISR semi-automated gearbox, but it's all about the aero and the design and the visual dramatic effect. You have 63 logos across the car celebrating Lamborghini's founding back in 1963 by Ferruccio Lamborghini, and of course the Aventador SVJ recently producing the 63 edition, 63 units, and also the Sian 63 units, another thing that Lamborghini are carrying through. But the design, as I said, it's edgy, it is angular. You have those Y shapes throughout, whether it's for the tail lights or the headlights or the different elements and aspects. You also have a lot of hexagonal shapes. If you take a look, for example, at the design of the wheels, you have those 6 mini hexagons, well 7 I suppose technically, including the central area with the centre lock as well, that create the entire wheel shape. A very large wheel sitting very neatly tucked inside the bodywork. But even the exhaust tailpipes at the very back, again, hexagonal shapes, the triple hexagonals inside a larger hexagonal on each side of it, flanking that central kind of reverse light in the middle, and then around the front those Ys that you always have with Lamborghinis, this distinct design that they go for, an edgy central kind of nose cone of the car. And in fact, looking from the very front is really quite interesting how you have that splitter that runs the full width across the very bottom of the car, right down, virtually touching on towards the ground, but the air allowed to go through it, separating out the cockpit, the canopy, that central section from the wheels and the wheel arch covers that run over the outside of it, with the lights maximising at the edge to give it more aggression and visual drama, but still a Lamborghini. You can actually see the suspension components as well, visually exposed on each corner of the car as well. Now around the side, of course, it is very low, it is very dramatic, and I suspect actually the wing at the rear is the highest point of the car in total, but you've got the glass cabin almost with a wedge-like shape going down towards the back, a signature of the Lamborghini V12 design. All the way from the back through to the modern cars. Perhaps the Countach, I suppose, was the most iconic, but the Aventador, before that the Murcielago, the Diablo, the Countach, always having that shape where I think pretty much if you asked a child to draw a car, they draw that, to draw a supercar, they draw that kind of shape, and that is exactly what they've continued on again in the introduction of their Vision Gran Turismo, named V12, celebrating the existence of a 12-cylinder engine. As we continue to go through then and look a little bit closer at the rear, look at the shape of the wing. You have that triangular section in the centre of the three tail light pieces. Then they go out towards the upper sections where you have some central, almost fins as well on the wing going right out to the edges of the car. Then they come back in under themselves in the similar kind of style to that was introduced for the SVJ, going down towards the completely open sections behind the rear tyres to maximise efficiency and of course to get out that swelling air straight away. Now remember, it's a game car, it doesn't have to follow regulations of a racing series or any particular rules, so they can go wild, they can use their imagination, and that's where you get this diffuser that has those exhausts as part of almost the fins down at the bottom of it. You can see the Centro Stile logo there on the back as well, often produced and incorporated into the design of these cars that the team create when they're designing them. Around towards the side again, you can see the cutaways like a proper race car behind the front arches, behind the front wheels, to maximise the air that flows straight through the car. Very low and aggressive side sills, and you might be wondering, how do you actually get into this thing? Well, the cockpit actually goes upwards. That's how you climb in. There are no traditional doors on either side of it, we could say. Now one thing you notice here is the way the lights go over the arches, there's almost a channel for airflow to head over and go on through. This thing looks literally like something that should be off on the moon. Maybe the moon's surface isn't the best for it to be driving on, but it feels like it's from out of space. It feels like a car that has been designed from the future and come back in time. And I guess in a way it reminds me a little bit of Lamborghini's Egoista that was launched maybe 6 or 7 years ago, a single-seater Egoista, literally meaning ego, one person, and a car that, well, they've never made beyond a concept, and this is, I guess, the same design and idea again. To have a better look at the steering wheel, you can see some of the controls instantly accessible from the thumbs. You've probably got a selection between different modes down at the bottom, and of course the paddles mounted onto the back, but a really cool design for the steering wheel itself in front of that projected display. The car though was launched at the World Finals in front of a crowd as it happens, and the gaming simulators and machines that were being used for the racing itself. I would have loved to have been there to see this car and be able to share it with you in person, and I sincerely hope that at some point in the future that I'll actually be able to do so. But being able to take it in, to see some of the details, to see the colours, like the Sian presented in a dark kind of satin green, I think, with the bronzy gold touches, the Lamborghini active suspension that shows through that allows you to visually see that, but just the profile of this thing, to go from renders to reality to also something that can be played with literally in Gran Turismo, inside the game itself, is just, I think it's something really, really cool, and I like that a lot. I spent quite a lot of time around the Bugatti Vision GT when it presented, and the idea that it kind of connects the cars to the gamers, to the games, to have the opportunity to play with them and to get more of a feel and more of a connection. And this is really Lamborghini just pushing things to the absolute max. I mean, you think of the cars that they introduced, like the Reventon, the Veneno, the Centenario, and the Sian, and these kind of cars, whereas this, well, it it just, I mean, it throws out the rulebook. It doesn't need to be road legal. You know, around the front as well, you've got those lower outside skirts that say no step, a bit like an aircraft, very fighter jet inspired, as they often are with these kind of things. And the covers were pulled back by Meteor as well, head of the design study, and a great guy as well, always fun to meet with when I go to some of these events and get to see the cars in person. But this is really everything to me that a Lamborghini, I guess, is all about. It's something that has literally gone, let's just do this, let's make it crazy. And I've met Katsunori Yamauchi, the boss of Gran Turismo himself, as well at some different events, including back when he raced at the Nürburgring 24 Hours. But they make these cars just with no rulebook, with total freedom. And yes, okay, this isn't going to make it into production. It's not a car that we're ever going to see, especially not driven on the roads, but hopefully I'll see it at a show or an event or something in the future where we can go through it in more detail and get to see it up close and in person. And I'm sure there are details that I don't yet know about. I'm just going by what I've been able to find out about so far from, well, about 4,000 or 5,000 miles away. So I'm doing my best here, and I hope that you've enjoyed being able to take a look at some of this with me. For now though, that is it. Congratulations to Lamborghini on presenting the Vision GT. What a crazy looking car. Do let me know in the comments down below what you think of it, but thank you very much as always for watching. I appreciate your support on the channel. That's it though, and I'll see you again very soon. Cheers!